And we're back for race 3. What an evening it's been so far. We started off with the discipline and professionalism of the feature race, which saw Greg Gomez show his gearbox to Carl Power and Danny Henny in a very disciplined exchange of strategies and tactics. We watched them manage their tire temperatures, time their pit stops to perfection, and make sure that they saved the right amount of DRS the right time. Then we saw the chaos of race 2, where Adrian Clark had his heart broken by Miguel Morland on the back straight. The slightest of nose to gearbox contacts resulting in carnage down the field, which ended up taking out the former champ, the 3 times Missed Apex Cup champion Danny Henny. And then, oh my goodness, as we saw the other title contenders charge up the field and overtake, having to avoid the kicking mules of the reverse grid top 3, and John Langham managing to hold on to that P4, as well as Miguel Morland scoring a fantastic top 10. Well, without the penalties that are surely to follow. But Kyle Power made his way back into the top 3. Luke Power stamped his name over this championship, returning to his F3 glory. And Alexander Dobitzberger showing everyone that he really does belong in this title hunt. So, back to the on-track action that I will be able to see if Uncle Steve is able to start their stream again. So, to give you a bit of a glimpse behind the curtain, I'm watching it on my iRacing application, and I also get fed the feed that Uncle Steve gives to me. How's it going, Steve? You still with us? You still hanging on in there? Great broadcast so far.
Right, no, I'm okay.
Trouble. You're okay, Steve. It's you have to be a bit of a broadcast octopus doing what you do for this stream.
Yeah. There's only one of me, and when they do real races, there are, some hundreds. Okay, we're about to go ahead.
Okay, brilliant. So, Steve, you might have to tell me in your producer ear what it is that you're following, because I can't follow your stream at the moment. But I can see the stream that you guys can see on the live broadcast as well. So hopefully we'll all be watching that same action as we see Nick Alexander, who started in P2 for the last reverse grid, ended up in P20 for the last race, and so now starts P1. James Gill, who is very quick, is in P2. Drillsma, one of the top players, is in P3, surely the favourite to win this. Stephen Taylor in P4, and Mike Stoner might struggle to hang on to the podium positions. And then you've got Matt Cook, very capable, and also Andrew Sexton. We are waiting for the race to get going. Nick Alexander at the front. So we are waiting for it to get underway, and they are off. That is a green flag, and Nick Alexander gets a great start from James Gill. Alex Drillsma moves into the centre of the track, hunting and stalking, and Stephen Taylor in the yellow gets a little nudge from Matt Cook, who claims the inside position. Andrew Sexton coming up the inside as well, and there's some spinners further back, as there usually is, but it's Alex Drillsma is the one to watch as he gets, he sacrificed the slipstream for track position. Nick Alexander is getting away, but I think Drillsma is correct that Gill is the person he should be attacking, and it's Mike Stoner, I think, in P4 that he has to defend from. I might have that. No, it's not. There's carnage down at the back. I'm watching the front at the moment, and Mike Stoner is hanging on admirably. Ahead of him is Nick Alexander now has dropped down, so a mistake from Alexander has dropped him down behind Sexton. Sexton now attacking Matt Cook, and Drillsma is left all on his own to fight James Gill. And this is going to be a genuinely fascinating matchup, because James Gill has some pace, but does he have the consistency to stay ahead of Drillsma? Drillsma the favourite at this point, and Matt Cook in third place is having to hold off Andrew Sexton. Andrew Sexton all over the back of Matt Cook. This isn't the place that you want to be trying to overtake. So now it's all about making sure that you can stay on his gearbox. On board now with P4, Andrew Sexton. A little bit of a lift at this stage of the race to make sure you don't go too wide. The tyres will still be cold. Keeping up onto the pit straight. Now, has he got almost too good a run? He doesn't want to overtake, surely, Andrew. No, you're not going to overtake into turn 1. And he backs off, just about misses the gearbox, but he's severely compromised himself now. up onto the approach to the back straight. Nick Alexander trying to recover, having lost P1. Can Nick Alexander do something with that double slipstream up behind Andrew Sexton and Matt Cook? It's a little bit crowded in there, guys. All of them now wise to that center ground. None of them want to bottom out on the bumps. Matt Cook tucks in behind Andrew Sexton and leaves the inside for Matt Cook. No, Matt Cook now has lost out. So is that a back marker? I've lost track. So no. Sexton, Matt Cook from Sexton, Sexton down the inside. And that is Greg Gomez has made his way already up into 5th position. Up the inside of Sexton. Sexton would be wise to just let him go and not lose any more ground, as Daniel Cook, now no relation, different spelling, is behind him in this long train. So that's Nick Alexander has lost out to Daniel Cook, and it looks like he's going to lose out to Tim Ellis as well. So there's Ellis. Ellis has found himself up now, I believe, into P7. So let's see if I can get my head around the order as we go into lap 3. Alex Drillsma up ahead of James Gill. James Gill doing valiantly well to hang on for as long as that against this absolutely incredibly fierce and consistently fast Alex Drillsma. Matt Cook holding on to P3 ahead of Gregoire Gomez. That is a battle that is probably going to be quick as they go onto the back straight, and Gomez, I think, will probably dispatch some DRS to make sure he gets ahead of Matt Cook, and Cook will, well, in fact, no, there is no DRS opening at the moment. So it looks like there's no time left in this straight. Cook goes very defensive, perhaps unnecessarily, which opens the door for Gomez to hang it around the outside, but he's not close enough to make a move as they go down into the boot section. So that'll be a case of biding his time. I think there's enough of a delta with these two, though, that as they go up into the toe, Gomez might fancy a run into turn 8. Oh, they're side by side. Look at that. Gomez making it look easy. So sorting out the mess behind there. Obviously, if this was Chris Stevens, he'd be keeping up with it a lot better. But let's see. So it's Matt Cook. Now it's Daniel Cook behind. So it was Tim Ellis then that had made a place up the pack, but we have championship contenders behind them. Luke Power, second place in the last race, and Danny Henney. So Danny Henney now has recovered to 9th position. I don't know where Danny Henney started, but it definitely wasn't this high. So Danny Henney now up behind Luke Power. Again, he's got to run into turn 1 and has lifted. He's lifted into turn 1 because he wants to make sure he's got a run. But Luke Power will also have a slipstream as well, and they both have the opportunity to open DRS. So what does Danny Henney do here? Andrew Sexton now in 9th place behind them. Again, doing very, very well to hold this pace. Andrew Sexton running 31.6s, so a little bit mismatched against Henney and Luke Power coming through the pack. As we see Daniel Cook, Gregoire Gomez now leads Daniel Cook. Matt Cook has dropped back behind the pair of them. And that is Tim Ellis now down the inside of Matt Cook. And Matt Cook also loses out of place to Luke Power. And Danny Henney gets in on the party as well. But Danny Henney, surely he's not going to go around the outside of Cook here. They're getting very close, you know. Henney is taking quite a lot of the margin between them, not accounting for netcode at all. And surely Henney's not going to make a dive down there. No. Turn 8 isn't the right place to make a dive down the inside because it's such a short braking zone, but he does brake early and get the move done. And I think perhaps Matt Cook may have overfought his position there, heated up the tyres, and now finds himself dropping back down the grid. So I think we get a chance to breathe for a second and see where we think the action is happening. So let's see. Alex Drillsma a full second ahead of James Gill. Greg Gomez has a little bit of work to do. He's 1.2 seconds back from second place. Now Daniel Cook is going to be the start of the train, holding off Ellis and Luke Power. So the overtakes that we're going to see next are likely to be for P4, as we see Danny Henney at the back of a chain of 4 of Daniel Cook, Tim Ellis and Luke Power. So I think Daniel Cook is going to be a little defenseless here as Tim Ellis not only takes up the outside, but also we've got Luke Power getting that kind of double slipstream. So yeah, Daniel Cook has lost out to both of those. Is he going to fight hard against Daniel Henney as we go down into the boot section? I think that's a bit far back, even for Daniel Henney. So there is no reward for 20th place here, so all the focus is on who can get those points. Let's going back a little bit, we've got Kyle Power down in P10, who finds himself ahead of Tiro Tylus, who found himself apologetic in the locker room at the end of race 2, having taken out some of his fellow competitors. But Kyle's found his way past as Andrew Sexton up ahead goes wide, so he's got Sexton and Cook to navigate his way past, and I'm sure that is something that Kyle will be able to do in the next few laps, but that might leave him a little bit short of time to get up to the likes of Henney and Power. So Henney now in P7 on the back of Cook and on the back of Luke Power. I was expecting Henney to get past somewhat quicker. He's having to be patient into turn 1 now. Does he get a better exit into T1? Predictably, yes, he does get a better exit out of T1. So does he dispatch his DRS to get this done? I think he would fancy himself, no disrespect to Daniel, he would fancy himself to get past without the aid of DRS, a big slipstream, and he picks the outside. So they're going to be side by side. This is an opportunity for Daniel Cook to be a hero, but he tucks in behind. And I think that is the smart thing to do when there's that big a gap in the championship. So Henney now looks forward to see if he can catch up with Ellis and Power. Gomez is past Gill for P2. The gap is 1.8 to Alex Drillsma, so that might be a bit too far even for Gomez to catch now. So normally with these reverse grid races, you find someone who had finished in P20 hanging on for dear life in P1, but we'll keep an eye on that gap. At the moment, it is a consistent 1.92 seconds, and James Gill is a further 0.6 seconds back. Power now on the back of Tim Ellis. Danny Henney swarming all over Luke Power as well. So Power hasn't been able to make that decisive pass on Tim Ellis. Tim Ellis, out of those 3 drivers, probably the slowest on raw pace, but far from slow, running in flat 29s at the moment. And we have seen the top end drivers running around the 28.6, 28.7. So Danny Henney now probably comfortably clear ahead of Dan Cook. Kyle Power has made his way past Matt Cook and is trying to now catch up what is now a 1 second gap up to Andrew Sexton, as Danny Henney now has a slight overlap on Luke Power. He's on the outside. What does Luke do here? He's in the middle of the track. He is going to hit those bumps, and it is a disadvantage. Look how much the bumps have slowed down Luke Power as Danny Henney goes round the outside and tries to hold on here. Luke Power giving him a lot of racing room. It's respectful racing, and Danny Henney absolutely has that as they go down into turn 6 on the inside. There's brilliant racing. It's one of those tracks where you can just stay side by side through multiple corners, but you have to have respect and racing room, and Luke Power gave him that. Alex Drillsma's gap to Gregor Gomez is now down to 1.4 seconds, but we do have limited laps left, so I think there's only 5 laps left. I think that could be enough for Greg to close down that gap, so that could be a factor as we go into the final laps. But I tell you what, James Gill hasn't given up his hopes of the podium. So now the battle to watch on track for P3 is James Gill versus Tim Ellis, with Danny Henney and Luke Power behind. So James Gill really driving out of his skill here so far in the championship. Hasn't shown himself to be up there with the top platinum drivers, but on his day, on his lap, very fast. So as we go up to that all-important back straight, it does look like Tim Ellis has a run. And straight away, though, has to get out of the slipstream, and there's contact with Danny Henney. Contact with Danny Henney, and that has favoured Henney. Unfortunately, I think Ellis got out of the slipstream far too early and found himself too close, and Gill has been the net winner of all of that. But Luke Power is still now stalking behind Tim Ellis, and I fear that Tim is going to lose a little bit of the momentum that he had. So Ellis was fighting for a podium position. Now he finds himself scrapping and holding on for 6th place, and actually Dan Cook is now a bit of a spoiler in the pack as well. And those 4 are going to want to make themselves clear of Cook, settle down a little bit. Danny Henney down the inside. That's not a very normal overtaking place. But James Gill has left the door open there. He certainly maybe didn't fight that as hard as he did with Ellis, who now finds himself just about behind Luke Power. They're side by side. You shouldn't be side by side through this. They've both had to lift to make that work, and Ellis finds himself just in front. So can Luke Power compose himself into turn one, keep that gap as small as possible, and get a run up the hill onto the back straight where all the action happens? So Danny Henny now looking comfortably clear, but I tell you what, James Gill is close enough. That's 0.3 seconds out of turn one, and that is close enough to have a slipstream. It's close enough to force the issue with DRS, and I suspect they both have DRS open here. Perhaps all of them do. I think they all have DRS open except for Luke Power in that train. Danny Henny now leading that pack in third place. The gap to the lead is staying pretty consistent. So Alex Drillsma putting in very respectable 29.3s. Gomez on the last lap 29.2. And that is about matching the pack behind. So this is where all the action is happening. Henny looks to be securing that third place. I think it's all about fourth place now. Can James Gill hang on with Tim Ellis? So Tim Ellis finds himself in the same battle as he was 3 laps ago, but for one less position. Come on, Tim. You need to make a decisive move. Tim is the fastest of the gentleman drivers, one of the nicest guys in this series. But sometimes you just have to urge the nice guys to make it happen. And this is a track where if you're going to make a move not on the back straight, you have to make it happen. Maybe not into turn one, Tim. And look at that. He's had to lift off, and that's given Luke Power an invitation to have a sniff down the inside. So Luke has actually missed out there. I think he's compromised his run out of turn one. So without DRS, I don't think he's going anywhere. The pack has closed up as a whole. I think we're going to get some action here. Again, Tim's caught up very quickly. Now he's lost the slipstream. Is Luke Power boxed in? No. Luke Power finds a gap down the inside. It's going to be enough to get down, to get past James Gill, I think. He's gone on the bumps. The bumps have disadvantaged Luke Power, and Gill hangs on around the outside. These youngsters, Steve, they're keeping us on our toes.
Yes, and Danny Henny has just disappeared off the timing screen. He must have had a disconnect.
No, so Danny Henny, who has been having technical issues. No, I've just seen a message from him in the group chat. He said, I don't fudging believe it. So he has had some kind of disconnect. It said he's dropped due to, it looks like an internet or computer issue. So he's dropped out. So now that battle we were watching was for the podium place. Hey, look, in real racing, engine failures happen. In iRacing, in sim racing, computer failures happen. And part of it is looking after your kit. You know, we talk endlessly about our setups and our connections, and that is part of the challenge. In karting, the lap time starts in the kitchen, but in iRacing, the lap time starts with your IT. So Tim Ellis now looking very secure for that podium position. And here we go. So James Gill now and Luke Power fighting for P4. So you'd think Luke Power, he's got a run here. Interestingly, Daniel Cook has kept pace with this battle. So maybe we wrote him off too quickly. He's down the inside. Gill doesn't know whether to defend the inside or the outside and ends up kind of half defending both. And I think it's working. So Power has to go round the outside and really try and hang it on. What an amazing job by Luke Power there to use the rumble strips just to get that extra last bit of grip, and manages to hold it down the inside as they go into the loop. And now actually James Gill finds himself defending from Dan Cook. And I also wonder, has Gill heated up his tyres and driven outside of himself? So a valiant effort to hang on to P5. And that might be the best he can do. And no, P6 as Dan Cook gets down the inside. I think once you lose these tyres, they stay lost. Greg Gomez is within 5 seconds of the lead, but we've only got 2 laps of this race.
Kyle's
so visually,
just, had an incident.
Let's have a look. So looking down the pack, Kyle Power has had an incident, and that has pushed him back down the grid. So he's come from, where was Kyle running, Steve?
Oh, I'm not sure off the top of my head, sorry.
That's fine. No, me neither. It's really hard. It's really hard to follow track racing. It just shows you what a genius Chris is, and also other Chris as well when it comes to this. But Greg Gomez has one last run on the back straight. Drillsma is weaving to try and break the toe, and it looks to have done enough, but he goes over the bumps, and Gomez had a little look down the inside as they drove into the curve. But there's not enough momentum, I don't think, for him to carry that, and it's going to have to be now a big mistake from Drillsma to allow Gomez to go in. And I think, is this the final lap?
Yes, it is the final lap.
This is the final lap, so I think Gomez, through the twisty bits, is either going to have to settle for second place or do something rash and silly. And as a viewer, we're all hoping for rash and silly. But let's see, down to turn 8, and Gomez is making Drillsma defend on the inside, and Gomez has gone wide, and surely that is it for P1. You have to think that Drillsma has that in his pocket. And really, yeah, there's no other battles, I don't think, outside the top 10, apart from Kyle Power gets past Andrew Sexton at the end. Gomez has probably cooked his tyres now. There's no chance for a final effort, and as the checkered flag falls, that is Alex Drillsma who takes the win in race 3. Greg Gomez has been consistent, and I'm sure is the overall winner of the round, followed by Tim Ellis in 3rd place. Luke Power ends up in when second was on the table. Amazing performance by Daniel Cook to hang on to 5th. James Gill, really the star of the early show there, in 6th place. And then Power, Dobbitsberger, Tylers, Raskovic popping up in 10th place. That rounds off your top 10. Wow. Well, what a race 3. I hope that we've kept you entertained. I think we will spare the lads the locker room experience for this race as they get themselves ready for some fun racing away from the broadcast.
Look at the results.
But let's have a look at the final confirmed results for this race 3. And it is Drillsma, then Gomez, Ellis, Power, Cook, Gill, Power, Dobbitsberger, Tylers, Raskovic, Cook, Sexton, Alexander, Colin Ward, and Maruf Khani in 14th place. In 15th place there. That's your top 15. Ryan Sedgwick in P16 as well. And Daniel Snorderland would have got the reverse grid, but we've run out of races. Thank you very much for watching our Missed Apex iRacing Cup on Missed Apex Motorsport. Please be sure to like and subscribe and stay in touch. The future rounds have much more professional commentary, and I add to the chaos when I'm racing. We will catch you next time. Until then, work hard, be kind, and have fun. This was Missed Apex Motorsport.